This is Fresno's Fabulous Past, a look at the pop culture environment of the city of Fresno from 1950 to 1990. And here is your host, Dale Mell.
As you look back, did you realize you were a female performer pioneer locally, maybe even statewide, with the Nancy Allen's movie matinee? Did it go through your mind at all?
No, Dale, I really did not. I loved the job. I thought how fortunate I was. After all, I got dressed up and went down and interviewed interesting people, watched interesting movies, and I was paid for it. And I should mention that in just 5 years after I started, my husband died very abruptly of a heart attack. And I was left with my 2 young children to take care of and support.
Let's give an approximate year this happened, unfortunate incident.
It was 1960.
Let's see, we're talking about Nancy Allen. Now, how did the moniker take place?
They gave me the name.
Okay.
And I think the very first one was slightly different, maybe like Nancy Martin, Nancy Smith, or something like that. And then they found out that another TV station in Texas had already used it. So then they chose Nancy Allen, and that was it.
Oh, it fits you. You're a sweetie pie.
But more people call me Nancy than call me Lorraine.
Now, here's the deal about the summers of 61 through 65, those movies, film noirs. We tuned in to make sure we saw The House on 92nd Street with Lloyd Nolan. We saw Call Northside 777 with Jimmy Stewart, Laura, Gene Tierney, Dana Andrews. They're classics. They're coming out on super clear Blu-ray discs. You influenced me on collecting film noirs. I have over 800 of them now. Crime dramas of the 40s. Monster movies. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 53. Made a lot of bucks for Warner Brothers. You showed it several times. I was there to watch it on TV. Westerns. Comedies, Kill the Umpire, William Bendix, Joey Brown, Alibi Ike with that throwing arm, 1935. You did it. You were there.
Do you remember we had an MGM package with wonderful movies? Remember the ones with Greer Garson and Walter Pidgeon? Yeah.
No, I had certain ones I was following. And when the comedy came up, the Marx Brothers, my brother and I were there. I didn't see everything during the summer, but I saw a lot. There is a site called Lost Fresno where they have a special area called I Had a Crush on Nancy Allen. We all had a crush on that cutie pie, Nancy Allen, on TV, either in black and white or in color.
What can I say? What woman wouldn't be complimented to hear something like that? But no, for me, I was just having a great time. I did realize how fortunate I was, and it was, well, I was privileged. I was blessed to have an experience like that. And as I just told you, it had its practical side, too.
You don't remember this, but there was an incident, and I've already spoken about this. It's 1968. It's summertime. I'm 15 years old. And they showed a William Castle movie from 65. I Saw What You Did. I Know Who You Are. Near the beginning of the movie, they had John Ireland pull in his nagging wife into the shower and stab her with the scissors. And stab her, and it didn't cut away. So they continued with the movie, and then you came on the air because the phones had lit up from parents whose 6-year-old children, boy and girl, were watching this. And the phones lit up, and you had to apologize.
I honestly don't remember that. You're telling me about it, Dale.
But you, being graceful and elegant, you said, "We, the staff at Channel 24, we are sorry for what had happened. We hadn't previewed this movie before we showed it. So we are sorry that we caused any discomfort or inconvenience for you. We will continue with the movie after these commercials." And I thought, continue? If you haven't viewed the movie yet, how do you know what's coming up?
Well, obviously, I hadn't at that one. But most of them, I did review the movie, and I had reference books, and I would say things, you remember, about what the world was like when this movie was made. Some of the other things that were happening in the world, so that you could, see why the movie studios would make such a movie or so. I had histories of the stars that were in the movies and something about the studios, maybe. It was all fun. As I said, investigation or background.
You didn't have a crush on a star like Cary Grant or Gary Cooper or Jimmy Stewart, any of that?
I would say a crush. I was happily married. I would say there's never been anybody quite like Cary Grant.
Well, you mentioned stars that came through the studio. Who were some of the stars that maybe you met and interviewed or somebody else interviewed?
Probably Alistair Cook. Do you remember him?
Yes.
The wonderful BBC announcer. He and an older man traveling with him were here to address Town Hall. And he came in for an interview, and he stayed afterwards. And we talked for nearly an hour. What a lovely man.
Of course.
I really enjoyed that. I interviewed Nancy Reagan. I went up to Sacramento again with a sound man and photographer. I found her a very down-to-earth, pleasant woman, really not at all like the kind of worshipful fashion plate that we saw in the White House. I liked her. I liked her very much. And I interviewed Pat Nixon. She was here in town. I just remember her as a pleasant lady. I can't remember anything distinctive or particularly interesting about the interview. Another first lady but of the state, Pat Brown's mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the original Pat Brown was campaigning or speaking, and Mrs. Brown came in for an interview. I remember she sent me a lovely letter afterwards that she had enjoyed the interview. And then, let's see, she's a famous Shakespearean actress.
Judith Anderson, Dame Judith Anderson, she was the one that had the crush and wanted to marry Vincent Price in the movie Laura.
She was here and she was performing as Medea, I think probably at the Memorial Auditorium at the time. Oh, Ethel Waters, the black singer, she was a lovable woman, very motherly, and some way I can't imagine her singing jazz songs, but that was the woman. One experience was unique. The actor James Drury.
The Virginian.
Yes. He had a bee in his bonnet about something political, and I told him that we could not talk about anything to do with politics. And he said, well, then I'm out of here. And he got up and left, and I was stuck with the interview time to fill. Well, I can't remember her name. Oh, yes, the Ames brothers, the best-looking one.
Yeah.
Ed Ames.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was charming.
So your cup ranneth over when you met him. His song.
Well, sure.
I'm
Sure.
teasing
I
you.
really like the ball. I never recall a single interview that was difficult or unpleasant.
In summing up the legendary Nancy Allan of Nancy Allan's Movie Matinee, what would you like to say to your fans at age 52? I'm 48.
I would like to say I wish you well, and I appreciate every nice thing that you've ever said about me. I hope I deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorraine. This is Dale Mel for Fresno's Fabulous Past with Lorraine Martin, Nancy Allan of Nancy Allan's Movie Matinee. And we will end this segment of Fresno's Fabulous Past with Ed Ames and My Cup Runneth Over with Love. Join us again for another special interview and an item about Fresno's fabulous past. This is your host, Dale Mel.
Wise moments that I'm fondest of, my cup runneth over with love.